What if I told you that a mountain warrior from the remote highlands of Laos became the Moses of his people, leading them through one of the most harrowing journeys in modern history? A man who fought America's most classified war, saved hundreds of thousands of lives, and transformed a scattered ethnic minority into one of America's most resilient immigrant communities. Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary story of General Vang Pao, the legendary Hmong leader who spent decades fighting for his people's survival and ultimately guided them to safety in America, the promised land they had dreamed of but never thought they'd reach. This isn't just a war story, it's an exodus story. It's about a people who had no country, a leader who refused to abandon them, and a journey that would span decades, cross continents, and redefine what it means to be American and Hmong. General Vang Pao's origins. The Hmong people had been nomadic for centuries, moving through the mountains of China, Vietnam, and Laos without ever having a country to call their own. They were farmers, warriors, and survivors who had been displaced again and again throughout history. Vang Pao was born in 1929 in the remote mountains of northern Laos. After World War II, French authorities recruited him as a lieutenant during the First Indochina War to combat the Viet Minh. He became the only ethnic Hmong to attain the rank of general officer in the Royal Lao Army, but his real destiny was much larger than anyone could have imagined. While other leaders focused on politics and power, Vang Pao was building something unprecedented, a unified Hmong military force that could protect his people from the communist forces sweeping through Southeast Asia. He wasn't just a soldier, he was becoming the protector of an entire ethnic group that had never had a champion before. The Impossible Alliance. From 1961 to 1975, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency actively recruited Hmong men and boys, soldiers as young as 8 years old, to fight a secret war in Laos during the Vietnam War conflict. CIA operative Bill Lair worked directly with General Vang Pao to establish this unprecedented alliance. For the Hmong in northern Laos, this wasn't a choice between two political systems. It was a choice between fighting for their lives or facing extinction under advancing communist forces. Former CIA Chief William Colby once called Vang Pao the biggest hero of the Vietnam War. But here's what makes this incredible: Vang Pao wasn't fighting for America. He was fighting for his people's right to exist. The Secret War. The war that General Vang Pao fought wasn't just secret from the American public. It was one of the most brutal conflicts in modern history. CIA operatives like Jerry Daniels worked with General Vang Pao and the Hmong to conduct the secret war in Laos. Hmong men and boys were recruited as soldiers for Special Guerrilla Units, SGU, unofficial surrogates of U.S. Armed Forces. For 14 years, Vang Pao led his people in a war that most of the world didn't even know was happening. The numbers are staggering. An estimated 100,000 Hmong died during the conflict, nearly one-third of the entire Hmong population in Laos. Families were torn apart, villages were destroyed, and an entire way of life was being systematically eliminated. Through it all, General Vang Pao kept fighting, kept organizing, kept believing that somehow he could save his people. The betrayal and exodus. Then came the moment that would define General Vang Pao's legacy forever. Following the Paris Peace Accords in 1973, America pulled out of Southeast Asia, leaving the Hmong people completely exposed to communist retaliation. This was the ultimate test of leadership. Vang Pao had two choices: flee to safety himself or stay and try to save as many of his people as possible. He chose to become their Moses. Vang Pao and other Hmong leaders were evacuated to Thailand by CIA operatives and American civilian pilots. They took refuge in Nom Phong military camp. Vang Pao was soon permitted to come to the United States. But instead of disappearing into comfortable exile, he dedicated his life to bringing his people to safety. The refugee camps, a generation in limbo. By December 1975, the Pathet Lao began establishing prisons for Hmong suspected of working with Vang Pao. By 1980, over 100,000 Hmong fled Laos for refugee camps in Thailand. Former Hmong soldiers and their families were targeted in particular. Families abandoned their farms and fled into the jungle, walking for 15 days through dangerous terrain until they reached refugee camps in Thailand. Ban Vinai became the largest camp where new generations of Hmong were born, while families waited to immigrate to a new country. For 30 years, an entire generation, the Hmong people lived in these camps, caught between a homeland that wanted to eliminate them and a future that seemed impossible to reach. Life was challenging, with limited access to basic necessities like food and clean water. The Promised Land. This is where General Vang Pao's story becomes truly extraordinary. He could have lived comfortably in America, but instead spent decades working tirelessly to bring his people to America, the promised land they had only dreamed of. About 90% of those who made it to refugee camps in Thailand were ultimately resettled in the United States. The rest resettled in countries including Canada, France, the Netherlands, and Australia. This wasn't random resettlement. This was General Vang Pao using every connection, every favor, every political relationship he had built to save his people. The refugee experience lasted from 1975 to 2006. For 31 years, General Vang Pao never stopped fighting for his people. He lobbied Congress, worked with refugee organizations, and personally guaranteed the resettlement of thousands of Hmong families. The Leadership Revolution. What made General Vang Pao's leadership so revolutionary wasn't just his military skill. It was his understanding that true leadership means never abandoning your people, no matter the personal cost. He became more than a general. He became the symbol of Hmong survival, the living embodiment of their refusal to be erased from history. When governments failed them, when allies abandoned them, when the world forgot about them, General Vang Pao remained. From his base in America, he coordinated relief efforts, organized political advocacy, and maintained hope among a scattered people. He proved that real leadership isn't about commanding armies, it's about never giving up on the people who depend on you. The American dream realized. The impact of General Vang Pao's leadership on American society is immeasurable. Today, there are over 300,000 Hmong Americans, making them one of the largest Asian American ethnic groups in the country. They have become doctors, teachers, business owners, and community leaders, including Hmong celebrities like Olympic gold gymnast Sunisa Lee, Chef Yia Vang, actress Brenda Song, and legendary Muay Thai boxer Yia the Bull Mua. This transformation didn't happen by accident. It happened because one man refused to let his people disappear. General Vang Pao understood that the Hmong people needed more than just physical safety. They needed the opportunity to rebuild their lives, preserve their culture, and contribute to their new country. The Hmong American community today proves that immigration strengthens rather than weakens the fabric of American society. The cultural preservation. One of General Vang Pao's most important legacies is his insistence on cultural preservation. He understood that bringing the Hmong people to America wasn't just about physical survival. It was about keeping their identity alive for future generations. The influence of camp culture caused an increasing rift between young Hmong and centuries-old traditions. Vang Pao recognized this challenge and worked tirelessly to ensure that Hmong culture would survive in America. He established cultural centers, supported traditional arts, and insisted that young Hmong Americans learn their language and history. He understood that a people without their culture is just a collection of individuals, but a people with their culture intact can survive anything. The political legacy and lasting impact. General Vang Pao's political impact extended far beyond the Hmong community. He became a powerful advocate for refugee rights, military veterans, and Southeast Asian Americans. He worked with both Republican and Democratic politicians to ensure that America honored its commitments to allies who had fought alongside American forces. His advocacy work established crucial legal and political frameworks that allowed thousands of refugees to find safety in America. The numbers tell the story of his success. By 1978, some 30,000 Hmong had immigrated to the U.S., and by 1998, there were 200,000 Hmong living in the U.S. From 1975 until 1997, 140,200 Hmong and other highland peoples were resettled worldwide, with the great majority coming to the United States. The threat to deport Hmong refugees in Thailand initiated many support groups in the U.S. to stop these deportations, demonstrating how Vang Pao's influence extended back to protecting those still waiting for resettlement. Lessons in leadership. What can modern leaders learn from General Vang Pao's extraordinary journey? First, true leadership means never abandoning your people, even when it would be easier to save yourself. Second, leadership requires vision that extends beyond immediate survival. Vang Pao understood that getting his people to America was just the first step. Third, effective leadership means building bridges between different worlds. Vang Pao succeeded because he could work with American politicians, refugee organizations, and Hmong communities simultaneously. He became a translator between cultures, helping each side understand the other. From elementary schools to bronze statues, from congressional halls to family dinner tables, General Vang Pao's legacy continues to inspire both the Hmong American community and the nation that became their promised land. Have you heard the stories of the Hmong American community in your area? Let me know in the comments what you think about this incredible journey from war-torn Laos to the American dream. And if you'd like to provide further information about General Vang Pao or the Hmong people, we'd love to hear it in the comments. Thanks for watching.